sky. Well, you cry out and you don't know why. Come on now, let your feet fly. Come on now, let's go for a ride. Come on now, let your feet fly.
Hey everybody, no, just
Just
sorry.
relax.
I thought it went on. No.
No, it's on already. It's going right now.
Anyway,
Right there is good.
well, welcome to the couch. I'm Ash, that's Izzy. Stone Cold Jane Austen. It's AJ Devlin. AJ Devlin in the house. That's
Right
just
How's it going? Thank you guys. Thank you so
wrestling
much.
writing joke, right?
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, number one.
Absolutely.
Awesome, dude. Thanks for bringing.
Oh yeah, look at all this, all these books.
Those are the
It's great.
books.
How many? 4 you've got released?
Four in the series, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Book
Huh?
1, 2, 3, 4, and then I threw a little Macho Man.
So how many years have you been doing that?
Well, when did I start? The
Yeah.
character? Well, I created the character in the mid-aughts when I was in film school.
Right.
Coming out of film school. And then I never wrote the mystery novel. I was just working on screenplays. That's all I was doing. And then my professor planted the seed, and he's like, well, one day you might want to take a break from screenwriting. You might want to go write a crime novel. We were reading a lot of crime novels and stuff. And so we did. And then when things were slowing down in screenwriting, I came back to this idea.
Wow.
And I wrote, and then it took about 7 or 8 years to maybe
To craft it, right?
well, to rewrite again, and then
Yeah.
send it out to publishers, agents, everything, and then finally got a nipple, and then and then the next 3 came.
So
Wow.
we've had authors before, which is
Mhm.
awesome because
Right.
we like books and reading and we're intelligent people.
Yeah.
We've never had an author who writes crime fiction set in the professional wrestling world.
That's very interesting.
It's awesome, dude.
Yeah, I
Thank
mean,
you.
who-
Yeah,
I mean, who else does that?
I know one dude. I only know one
That
I
was
dude.
the
know one
plan.
person right now.
That was always the plan. It was
That's
like
pretty interesting.
when I was looking at crime fiction, I was looking at there's this whole subplot, a subgenre of athlete detectives.
Oh.
So there's like boxer detectives, baseball player detectives, sports agent detectives, hockey player detectives. Guess which one had never been done?
The good one.
The good one. And guess, and the thing was, it was like, first of all, I grew up loving it.
Yeah.
Then it was like, if you threw a little comedy in here, you could have like comedy mystery novels because the world is so crazy. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the world
yeah,
of comedy.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it just, I almost felt like I was surprised nobody had really done it before.
And some of that old noir stuff, like Richard Diamond and that stuff, that was pretty funny stuff too. You
For
know?
sure.
And then wrestling.
Yeah, but that very quickly became sort of a key component of the identity of the series.
Yeah.
Even though he's around it, it surrounds him, and it's part of him, but it's not what these stories are about, really.
Mhm.
You know, so it's really fun, and I had to learn that because I kind of thought I'd do the first book, which is all about wrestling, and he helps out his former tag team partner after Snake gets kidnapped, because that happens. And then this is about he takes a case in the world of women's flat track roller derby in Vancouver. That's mixed martial arts. That's rodeo Cloverdale.
Wow.
And so the idea was always to take him into fringe sports and unique subcultures. But what happened was I realized that the wrestling needed to be consistent.
Right.
And so I kept him wrestling in the books, not in the WWE, locally, so he's around it. People
Yeah.
recognize me. You want that, mid-card level of fame. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
writing a scene, I need him to be famous, they can know him. They don't watch wrestling, they don't know him.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
gives me a lot of flexibility. So he's not, because you can't have The Rock, Dwayne Johnson out there solving crimes. People will just be getting autographs the whole time.
Yeah, Rock the Dwayne Johnston.
Yeah.
Do you go to wrestling in town?
I do, yeah. When it comes, I like to go.
So good.
I like to go to the
All-Star?
indie shows myself, and then I go to the big stuff. Obviously, with my kids because they're 12 and 10. So
Yeah.
they're into it right
So
now.
they're like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just more fan stuff. But
Yeah,
I like the smaller.
Well, of
stuff.
course, the indie kind of stuff. Yeah, the indie stuff must be really interesting, right?
That's wicked.
It's so.
Like down at the PNE, dude.
Oh
When
man,
they
have you
do-
seen that stuff they
Oh,
do?
yeah, all the time. Me and Bonnie go all the time. Hi, Bonnie.
It's so cool. It's so creative. I think that's what people forget about
Yeah.
pro wrestling. They
Yeah.
think it's like, it's just the same thing every time. That is one of the most creative industries out there.
Yeah.
And I'm in one. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, it is
Right.
it's just so wildly creative.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
think what they have to do to stay fresh,
Yeah, dude.
and they travel 300 days a year. It's a pretty.
That's a lot,
remarkable
that's
business.
quite a lot of traveling to do too, right?
It's
You
really
must
like,
really,
think
you
about-
have to really love it too, right?
Oh, for sure. Think about taking the band on the road for 300 days.
Well, that's-
Never
yeah.
mind getting the shit kicked out of you for 300 days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite a bit. So do you, when you've gone to like, especially the indie ones, like you said, do you get a crowd of creative ideas for your books and stuff?
Yeah,
That's what I mean, you could build off that.
100%. That's a great question. So for this first wrestling scene, I think chapter 3, chapter 4, he goes to the old Kitsilano Russian Community Center over there.
Okay, yeah.
And when I walked in there, I think I went with my buddy. I dragged it there, and I hadn't been to an indie wrestling show in a long time, and it was like the smell was like stale popcorn.
Yeah.
And then it smelled like
Yeah, like the P&E does.
yeah, and it had like it had like this musty kind of like, you know, the floor was parquet like old
Yeah.
where the Celtics used to play, you know, like the parquet floor.
Yeah.
It just felt like this out of time little
Yeah.
1975 gym.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden there's a wrestling show in it, so I grabbed onto those smells. And so if you read Cobra Clutch, there's actually like a paragraph about the smell of musty steel popcorn in it. Because
That's
it's
a
so
really
potent.
cool analogy because that's so true. The P&E smells like half the buildings smell like that all the time. That's from all the events that have ever gone on there. If it isn't the stale popcorn, it's the beer probably or the pop, and you know the sugar you can smell in the air.
Absolutely.
I
That
never
was the
thought
thing
about
about,
it.
I haven't read a single word of the new one. Sorry.
Take your time.
But the one prior,
Right.
like you're talking about like the smells and stuff
Yes.
like that, and just how deep you get into, specifically for me anyway, was the like we were talking
Yeah.
about it the other day,
Yeah.
was all the Vancouver that is
Yes.
really specifically
Absolutely.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Like you can go there and go and look at it and go, yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, that's it.
Well, there's like
man.
a park where there's like a concrete igloo or something, and he's like running by. Like I went as you know, there's a lot of East Vancouver in there too,
Yes,
which you
there
guys, you know, I hope appreciate. But no, that book and that book, the first three are definitely love letters to the city. That one is as well, but it's a one-time real day thriller, so he's kind of stuck in one place for the whole day.
I like that idea.
It was
Yeah.
fun, and it sort of gives a little juice to the series. I think after 3 to kind of do something a little different. So yeah.
And then you end up taking these things on the road.
Yeah. So I'm in the midst of a book tour right now. I'll be going to Edmonton, Calgary,
Wow.
and then there's some festivals and stuff coming up in the fall. So it kind of the way it's been working with these, you know, I've been lucky that I released in the spring or the fall, and then you kind of run with it until the following spring, depending, and then that's when
Yeah.
there's a lot of like author events and stuff. And,
Very cool. So do you go to places like I guess like you said you guys do like you go to book events
Yes.
and do those book events take you like over to the States too? Do you've gone down there and done stuff down there?
Oh yeah.
Because
Actually,
wrestling down there is really still it's growing again down
Oh,
there. Right?
it's
Wrestling's
been-
insane right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially down there, it's really
Oh,
growing.
yeah, everything now is bigger.
I was
now.
watching that like I said, I told you I was watching that
Oh, wow.
Friday nights that WoW one, right?
Mm, yeah.
And I mean, it's so bad that it's
They're
good.
so bad.
I haven't been able to get to a writing conference and do wrestling at the same time. That's a goal.
That would be good.
But I was in Tucson last spring, or 2 springs ago, and I think Seattle last spring, and it was really great. And Left Coast Crime was that particular convention. But it's really great because a lot of West Coast authors, Canadian, American, all come together.
Wow.
And you network, you meet, you
Sure.
read certain books, you panels, you learn stuff. So it's really, really great. And when a lot of Canadian authors will go down together, we'll go as like a group.
You sure?
And then
Why
we're kind
not?
of representing a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
Which helps. But yeah, that's how a lot of this, these
So then
the
you
word
bet,
is.
then they probably when you meet up with American authors, they can feed off you guys too, and
And
they
it's-
learn stuff from you guys.
It's word of mouth too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
and then,
yeah.
and I mean, just like pro wrestling too, there's a long, rich history of cross-border
Yeah.
America-U.S. wrestling. I mean,
yeah,
my God, you look
huge.
at look at everybody from Bret Hart to Edge to whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's just how it works. So it just, it
Yeah.
seems fitting.
Piper Plip was fought down here for ever.
Yeah,
Yeah, all those guys, right?
right.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
And I tell you, my author friends, they all have, even the ones that don't know wrestling, they have a lot of respect for it. I think because you can tell that like passion recognizes passion.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And like I can tell you, I know you guys are passionate guys about your music and whatnot, and and different things, and I'm passionate about wrestling. Wrestlers are passionate about wrestling, and authors are passionate about writing, and so they see it, and you recognize it, and you're like, that's something I want to learn.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And so this is the order the books came out?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that 4 of them over how long of a period of time you figure?
It was about first book was 2018, published. I signed the contract for that in 2016.
Right.
And then I wrote the first draft. I don't even know when. And then I created the character in college. And so it was a long time. And then once I got that was April 2018. And then the focus was getting out a trilogy as fast as possible. And so I got that out May 2020.
Right
and
on.
I got that out September 2022, which considering COVID, I only had a 6-month
I
delay.
started on the third one of the trilogy.
Oh, but that might be the best one to start at. Actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay,
I've
okay.
actually been recommending a lot of people.
Yeah,
And then when I finished that one, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go write my standalone. But then I was like, oh no, I don't think I can say goodbye to the character just yet because there's a lot of unfinished business, and so then that's what that fourth book was about.
Very good. Wow.
But the things like Dashiell Hammond or whatever, those guys go forever, dude.
Oh,
And then they live on forever.
yeah.
We're still into that stuff.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's timeless. I mean, if you read Cobra Clutch, you will see influences from Hammond. You'll see influences from more Mickey Spillane actually.
Yes.
More like the pulpy, really
yeah.
gritty stuff.
Gnarly.
I just wanted that like Mike Hammer grit feel to like what you guys are about down here, right? Like the soul of the city.
Yeah.
And then to go back to what you said about sense. Really,
Yeah.
that was the biggest difference I learned from screenwriting to crime writing or novel writing was that in the screenplay you can be like, well, there's lights and flashes and sounds and popcorn machine, and you like let the director take care of it.
Yeah.
But when I'm writing this book and I'm describing that first wrestling scene, and it's a very important scene, not just for the case, but it's the first time he's been in a wrestling ring since whatever happened, which you find out in the book, caused him to leave wrestling.
Right.
And so when I wrote that scene, I really focused and I remembered that place, and I came back that popcorn smell, and I worked that in and worked other things in because I needed to create that sort of ambiance and experience.
So, do you think that your history in screenwriting helps with the novels,
Absolutely.
and gives it that cinematic fucking feeling when you're reading it? I guess
That's what I go for.
that's what you achieve.
Thank you. Yeah. That's my visual. That is my whole thing is to make it like as visual and as much like a movie as possible, because that's how I came to it. I came to it from growing up loving those movies and learning that style of writing.
Yeah.
And when like screenplay 110, 120 pages, novel 70,000 words, structure's the same, and you got to plot the twists and the characters and
The three acts,
right?
blah, blah,
Exactly.
blah, yeah,
So it's the same stuff. You just get more time with the characters, and then I was afraid of the 70,000 words. I was never afraid of the plotting or the characters or the dialogue. It was always like, can I do this thing that I haven't actually been trained for? Because screenplays, it's like scene description dialogue, right? And that's why that first one I think took so long. And then, you like this too. The best note I got was from an author friend, and they said that feels like this. Man, when it was a manuscript, they said it feels like it could take place in any city in North America. He says what you need to do is make it feel like it could only take place in Vancouver.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
I made that change.
Boom.
4 books.
Yeah.
Wow. Really? Eh?
And then you zeroed in on.
Yeah.
I think I finally did what she told me to do with this one. I think I actually got it right the best in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it. I got better at it.
Yeah.
But that third
Oh,
one
of
is the
course
one
you
where I really.
So transitioning from doing scripts to books, how hard was that for you?
I mean, it's like hard in like the actual job, or like hard in like finding the work.
No. Yeah.
Because it's like
I know what that's like.
They're different arenas.
Yeah,
right?
totally
To
different.
try and
No, I
judge,
just mean in the art of it.
In the art of it, that's a good question.
In the art of it.
I'd say in the art of it, probably not that difficult
Yeah,
because
I
of my
wouldn't think so.
professor. But
Yeah.
again, the one thing that I actually never got a chance to ask him about, because he passed away, and then it was years later when I finally took his advice and I wrote it. The one thing I would have asked him would have been, were you ever scared of writing so many words? And like what's the lowest amount of words you can write for me? That was my first question.
Oh, very
actually, to my publisher. I was like, how short can it be? And they're like, well, 65 to 85,000 words is a typical mystery novel. But a lot go up to 100. And that's 70.
Wow.
That one's 84, 71, 69, I think.
Yeah.
So I write.
You also have the freedom to do whatever you want.
Well, I mean, my publisher is amazing, and they let me
My friend,
have fun.
right now, my friend Travis, hi Travis, has a book. It's about this big. It's all Lovecraft, and some of them are this long. Some of them are this long.
Right.
But a lot of that stuff was initially put in magazines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And do you have does the Cthulhu myth come into yours?
The what?
Like Arkham and all his stuff that weaves its way through everything.
You know, that's funny that you asked that, because I've always wanted to, like, is there a way that I can sort of like tell my fast-paced action mystery comedy adventure stories, but also sort of work some depth into them, or can I be a little artistic? And I kind of I took him to a dark place in the third one, which that for me creatively, that's probably one of the most artistic things that I've done. But in the fourth one, what I did was really interesting. Is I zeroed in on a poem. Because I wanted to, because he's in a transitional phase after this third book, and this fourth book is really about him unpacking the trauma of the third book, and the poem is the Dylan Thomas poem, "Do Not Go Gentle into the Good Night," right? Famous poem. And so what's happening in the book is Hammerhead Jed is wrestling. He's refused to be a detective since the incidents of the third book, and he's got a new promotional T-shirt. And it's a prototype. And after some stuff at the rodeo, he's got to put on this prototype shirt. He's got to wear it for the rest of the day. So people comment about it. And it's his logo and everything. And it says, "Do not go gentle." And that's like his, do not go gentle. John Cena wrestler. You're not gonna pin me. Like that's the idea. But what I try to do in the book is sort of explore that theme from the other side of what what he's dealing with coming out of this, and then who he wants to be. Like, does he want to be a wrestler? Does he want to be a detective? Does he want to be both? He's just at a real crossroads. I think in this book. So,
how do people get these?
They're available everywhere.
Come down to the barber shop, actually.
Everywhere books are sold.
564 East Hastings. And a quick beard trim from Jeff.
Yeah.
And we'll sell you a novel.
There you go, we'll sell you bucks. No, they're available Amazon, Chapters, Goodreads, or the Goodreads where you review them. They're available everywhere. You can e-reader worldwide. Yeah, they're very, very accessible.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I mean, that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Did that e-reader stuff, I couldn't do it. It didn't really catch to me.
Gotcha.
Or I guess I was trying to read them on my phone, and I couldn't do, I also love to hold the thing.
It's a tactile experience.
Dude, it is a tactile experience,
and
exactly.
That's my book.
Right.
It's your book.
Yeah.
That's my book.
I'm not e-reading my own books.
I can dog ear that thing, and I can put it in my pocket, and nothing's mine. I'll throw it on the couch. That's mine, man.
Yeah.
So my favorite copy of all my books is the first one I got of this back home, and it's all beat up, and it's got stains on it. My dog chewed part of it because it's the first one I got, and I made notes in it and everything.
Yeah,
so
that's very cool.
My book.
You can't get rid of that.
No, it's a collector's.
That's a collector's.
Yeah, but also it's fun to have them. But they're paperbacks, no hardcover or anything. But they're available in ebooks everywhere. And then my publisher, New West Press, they're based in Edmonton, but they're amazing. They've got circulation. I was minding my business, and I got an email one day, and it was from a lady in New Zealand, and she wrote me somehow she come across this roller derby book. She played roller derby in New Zealand, and she was thanking me because she could tell that I had taken the time to really research the
nuances.
Yeah, the nuances of the roller derby world. Yes.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, thanks so much. And then I asked my publisher, I was like, do we sell in New Zealand? And they're like, well, we're available on Amazon New Zealand, I guess. I'm like, well, I guess somebody bought one because apparently the lady liked it. So
Yeah, that's very cool.
it's wild.
So you did that on the roller derby stuff too in this. Which book was that in the second one?
Yeah, second one. So that one's like pulled back into professional wrestling locally, roller derby, mixed martial arts, Fight Club Vancouver, and then One Day 24 style rodeo, one real-time film.
Wow.
You like that MMA stuff?
I mean,
Yeah, how do you feel about that? We had that one guy on, that friend of ours. What's his? We had Nathan on, and sorry Nathan, and Nathan, he actually fought, right?
Yeah.
And he,
Nathan said, and Chris is the one who talked more about Nathan. Sorry, Chris. Chris is the one who's doing it now, and Nathan's the one. He was that other author who used to do it. But
Chris,
the Viking.
Yeah, and Chris, Chris was saying it was just like, pretty brutal, right? He did.
And it's a hard slog to try and get that stuff going and all that.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, and plus you take a beating too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like, I imagine you take a beating in everything you do when it's physical, right?
right.
But from what I got out of that, it was just like, it's not what it looks like. It's a lot
But do you like
meaner and
watching?
tougher.
Yeah, well, no, I did. So it was interesting because I had this idea and then COVID happened, so I had to research MMA during COVID. I couldn't leave my house, right? Now, it kind of worked out because I had to go to the indie shows for that. I had to go to roller derby for that, but for that, I was able to get on YouTube. But I struggled with this one. I had the idea, but I didn't know I needed a type of fight club that didn't feel like all the other fight clubs you've seen so many times before. And it just had to be different enough. And I knew thematically where I wanted to go on the character.
Wait a minute. Can we talk about Fight Club?
The movie?
Isn't this the first first rule?
Oh yeah. Actually, we should not be talking about liquor. Here's where it gets interesting. I found an article on Salon website, salon.com or website or something. I don't know. It's about a rooftop fight club in New York.
Whoa.
And it was like this weird, unsanctioned thing. But like people took it seriously, and these guys. And then like one time, like I got knocked off the roof or something, and like fell. And like nobody talked about it, and I was like, and it just had like. So you know what it was like? It was like a fight club that had a gimmick that we fight on rooftops.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I stole that. I plucked there, and I'm like, well, that's cool. And I'm like, what if somebody did that in Vancouver? And I have a big fight with my detective in front of the old courthouse jail building in that book on the rooftop, which was pretty cool because it just gives it sort of a thing. And then as a writer, you can sort of describe sort of the cityscapes and stuff.
Well,
too, right?
fuck, man, that's not so far from. I remember exactly. I'm not going to bring out the specific people it was, but one of the guys that we've had on this show, actually, his brother went off one of those rooftops.
Oh my goodness.
During all the skinhead bullshit that was happening downtown in the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
Anyway, so you're not so far off.
I didn't even know that.
We used to, as kids, what we did was, this is a little off topic, but it is sports related.
Yeah, I know.
We used to, like, when we were teenagers, we used to, like, party a lot, really party hard.
Right.
And that's all I'll say. I won't say, there was a lot of fun going on. And we played this game called tube soccer. So what it involved was, it involved a building at the high school that connected with the other building outside, and it had of course a cover, and it went long, right down a long hallway, and everything was cement. The floor was, the walking on was cement, the ceiling was cement, the sides were cement, and it was like, probably long as this building. And so we would play what they call tube soccer. So what we do is two guys, one guy go in each end would be like the goal, and the rest of us would try to have to score on the other guy, right, in the tube, right? And it was pretty harsh because people were boarding people into the cement, and I mean, you could get hurt really bad, right? And then people would I don't want to get crushed, so they'd wind up and kick the ball a mile, and it'd be coming down this tube like really fast, right? And whack, right? And I'm serious, so we would start off. I mean, this isn't since like the rooftop thing, but this is what you did, right?
Yeah.
And you physically went out there to main people, I guess. I'm serious. And then we would be, before the game, we'd have 4 beer and we'd play.
Right.
Halftime, 4 beer, again.
Exactly.
So we'd be numb.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
by the time we were finished the game, if you were hurting, you wouldn't feel it no more.
Till the next day.
Till the next day, you wake up and not only you have a headache, you also what happened to my leg? It's not moving, right? And yeah, we did bizarre shit like that. Right?
Awesome.
We called it tube soccer.
There's a lot of crazy stuff in Vancouver. It's funny too, talking about a detective, because you have relatives that were detectives downtown Vancouver.
My grandpa was a detective.
Really?
Yeah, real famous detective.
In Vancouver.
Real famous
That's
detective.
fantastic.
He 1920s and 30s. He made the biggest opium bust in Canada.
Has he had a true crime book written about him?
He's got a book written about him in
Yeah.
Vancouver. Not the whole thing though.
Okay.
I mean, we should maybe talk.
We should.
because
There's also
I got
business-
I got so much documentation upstairs from my mom's. She has all the archives.
There are 2
And then
authors in Vancouver, Aaron Chapman and there's another lady.
My mom wants it.
Oh my God.
My mom's passed away, but my mom got a book sort of written on him a bit, and then he's in the museum down at the police museum. But yeah, I got so much archive stuff on him.
That's crazy.
And he how that I'll tell you quickly how that happened was he lived up here just on Pender, and he used to work for the city, and he came home one day, and somebody broke into his home, and they stole his leather jacket, right? And he loved this leather jacket. He's a big guy, not like me. He was about 6'9". This guy was huge, and so he called the police. Back in those days, he called the police. Please come over. Go. What's the matter? He says, well, somebody broke into my house and stole my jacket. I want my jacket back. And they went wow, good luck.
Yeah.
You're not going to get your jacket back.
Right.
And he goes, well, then you guys are not very good at your job, right? And he had work. He was working for the city of Vancouver, right? I don't know what he was doing, but he worked for the city. And so they said, well, if you feel like that, why don't you join the police department, right?
Huh.
and quit your job at the city and join the police force if you think you can do better.
Yeah.
He says, you know what, I'm gonna do that. So he quit his friggin' job and he got in because during that time, that's when the war was starting, right? Over in World War II, and he didn't want to go over, like my mom's side, he was Italian, so he didn't want to go over to
Kill Italians.
He says, I don't want to
Yeah.
go kill my own people, right? He said, I don't agree with their politics, but I'm not going to go over and kill them. He said, actually, I got family over there too. He says, I don't want no part of this shit, right?
Yeah, dude.
So he says, I'll go and join the police department and instead and do my duty here,
Yeah.
right? Too, that was one of his main reasons. So he did it, he went and did that too. So he joined and he became a big detective and he made that big bust.
Wow, that's so crazy.
And then I'll tell you one more quick story that is, you would find very interesting to write a book about. So he once got a phone call from this Italian guy knew another Italian guy, and the guy was from Seattle, and he says, I want you guys to come down to Seattle and hang out with us. You know, you bring Giuseppe or whatever the guy's name is. Giuseppe wants you to come along and come down and bring your family, and we'll have some dinner down here in Seattle. We'll go to the racetrack. We'll have some fun, right? So, you know, my grandpa kind of was a little leery. He goes, yeah, okay, I'll bring my wife and my kids, right? So, because he knew the other family, so they all went down there, and so we went in, and this guy lived in a big, nice, big, beautiful mansion, right, in Seattle. And so they go in the door, and all of a sudden, you know, the guy gives my grandmother a fur coat. He gives my aunt and my mom 2 little fur coats because they're just kids. And my grandpa's going like, I don't know about this, right? And so he doesn't say nothing right off the bat. He doesn't want to be rude, right?
Yeah.
So they have some lunch, and then they go to the racetrack. And they go to the racetrack, and they win every race. Every race they win, my mom said. And then my grandpa got suspicious, right?
Yeah.
He goes, okay. He goes, who are you and what do you want? And he goes, I'm part of the mafia. And we want to come up to Vancouver. And we know who you are.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay. He goes, I don't give you crap if you come up to Vancouver. He says, it's not my business. He says, I'll tell you what, you do whatever the hell you want, but he says, I'll turn my back and I'll ignore it, and you keep my family out of it. I'm giving you back the fur coats, no offense. And he says, I want no part of this.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not going to talk to my friend anymore. He says, that ends that. He says, I'm going back. And he says, when I go back to Vancouver, you come up here, you do whatever the hell you want. You do it behind my back, I don't see it, I don't care. You do it in front of me, you don't give me any choice but to bust you.
Yeah.
So he says, so I'm telling you now, I'm not going to look for you.
Yeah.
But if you do it in front of me, I have no choice. And he says, and don't ever include my family ever again in any business, any bad stuff we're going to deal with if we have to.
That's awesome.
So it was really that's a true story.
That takes-
my mom told me that's actually a true
I
story.
believe it. And that takes like stones like to do that. It makes me think of that scene from back.
And he
in the
never
day.
carried a gun too. So he didn't carry a gun. His partner carried a gun. So my grandpa says, I'm never going to kill nobody.
Yeah.
So he carried a knife, but he didn't carry a gun. So some interesting stories.
But it sounds like that it was respected and
Different.
that's how it went. Yeah.
Yeah. So he just left it at that. And so
Yeah. Good for
my
him.
mom told me, that's a true story. Or when they did the opium busts in Chinatown, when my mom came home here, on the back door they had put blood.
So you don't just have the makings for a great Vancouver detective here, a historical detective series. You've got like a series.
No, this guy's like,
It's gonna be like 3 books.
Yeah, and then on top of it, the guy wins the lotto 3 times.
The same
My
guy.
grandpa won the lotto 3 times.
What?
Yeah, in a row. Like my mom said, that's where all our luck went. Out the door because my grandpa got it all. I don't know how he won the lotto. Maybe that was fixed here too. Who friggin' knows? Yeah, it's in the Sun paper. I'll show you it, AJ. I'll show you the copy.
I want to see it.
Yeah, it shows his name and everything. His name is Joe Ricky. There's Joe Ricky. He's smiling, and he's got 3 times. And back then they called it the sweepstakes, right? Not the lotto ticket, they called it sweepstakes. And he won 3
Well,
times.
technically, that's 4 lotteries if you count the fourth, the biggest opium bust in the history of Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's 4 lotteries.
Yeah.
That's a detective lottery.
Yeah, like 3 times he
That's
did that. And it was just like, oh man, from there, and then he bought a whole bunch of businesses. So
Yeah, no,
to
this guy
branch
needs
out
first.
from-
I know some right. Aaron Chapman, Eve Lazarus is the other lady that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
They're 2 of the finest true crime authors in the world, and they're both here in Vancouver. And next time I see them, I'm going to be mentioning your grandfather. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I did win the Princeton meat draw 4 times.
Yeah, you did one night.
4 times in one night.
That was set up too, I heard.
So, and then I bought this business with my meat.
That's
my
worth-
meat profits.
That's worth tooting about. We need to get some stolen meat and have Hammerhead Jed get to the bottom.
Get to the bottom.
That's what we need to do.
Get them into the tunnels underneath Hastings.
The great meat heist of
The big meat.
2024.
Oh, the vegans are after me.
Oh, the big. But anyways, getting back to this thing here, the MMA thing, the fight stuff.
Yes.
It's so interesting though, right? Because you gotta really want to do that. From I mean, you
What
gotta
is
be
it
so
Yeah.
committed, and you don't. And like my cousin, funny we talk about this. I was talking to my cousin Ed. I was at a reception for one of my uncles the other day. He was 90, and so he had a birthday, and we were talking. Everybody was there, and so my cousin and I were talking about MMA fighting, right? And I don't know how we got onto the topic, but we did. And like Ed says, she says they make no money in the beginning, hardly at all. They make nothing compared to what the way they're getting beat the crap out of them, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be really dedicated to want to do that.
My whole point of the thing was, it's boring to me. No one's going off the top rope. There's
Yeah.
no moonsaults.
Well, there's no theatricality.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference, right?
You know what also I think is interesting? How do you feel about this? I personally love it. When kayfabe went out the window, wrestling, way better.
100%. Well, there's no attitude era.
Way more fun.
The attitude era doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Kayfabe doesn't go out the window, right?
No Stone Cold.
I
Stone
remember.
Cold Shane Austin. That's Jeff's joke.
Right?
It's so good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
So I'm just gonna keep using it all.
You,
night.
no, you don't. You keep going back to the well that never runs out of water.
Yeah.
But I'll
Thank
tell
you,
you,
Jeff. Thank you,
the
Jeff.
story that for me, and I was lucky enough because I was like a teenager or young kid or whatever, but I forget, but I was in that phase where I believed it was real, and then I lived through the actual sort of like everybody sort of admitting it, and when I say believed it was real, like I remember my aunt driving me to the Pacific Coliseum, like talking about how much she loves Roddy Piper, even though he's a bad guy, and convinced that Macho Man's just the worst guy ever for what he's doing to Steamboat. Like she believed it,
Wow.
and so yeah, to see
The
her.
plot, the storylines were real to her, right?
I was
Yeah.
this big, man. Like seriously, I was 3 or 4 years old when I met Andre,
Right?
and he.
Oh, you met Andre the Giant.
Yeah, and he's
Wow.
shake my hand. His hand comes to here.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's huge.
That's real. Like that's real.
And
man.
so no wonder you would believe that.
Oh,
it's
and
real
of course I
happens, but
believed
then-
it. And my aunt Jeannie too. She was
Wow.
she was the best, and I think she was married to a midget wrestler for a while. But she was all involved in wrestling and
Yeah.
counterfeiting and all this
Yeah.
like criminality. But that was part of it too. Like it was all
Well, because
criminality and like
Tales of the Territories is a show that's on Crave TV, and it's about
It's
those.
dope.
About, and it's about how they ran before, because that's where it was really interesting.
Yeah.
And then it got started sucked up into the conglomerate WWE machine. But you're right. When
Vince
kayfabe
McMahon,
went out the
he's
window,
doing pretty good these
I
days.
gotta watch that documentary series. But when that went out the window, it paved the way for something they had never done before, which was the Stone Colds, the Rocks.
Yeah.
The like we're gonna know this is over the top. We're gonna lean into it. Undertaker's like decides he's gonna be a biker for 10 years.
Yeah.
Just in the middle of his run.
Yeah.
Like it's just like they just
He was a
went for it.
magician.
Yeah.
And now he's a biker.
And then he went back.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then that's what wrestling really is. It's constantly reinventing itself. So
Yeah.
and so that's what I try to do with these books. Like every one is the character reinvented in a
Well,
different
what's that guy's
environment.
name? I don't mean, I used to watch, my wrestling goes, I go back to Gene Kiniski days.
Yes.
Yeah, sweet.
That's where I go back to,
course.
because that was so original back then, you
Yeah.
know. And that's the kind of stuff I grew up with. Did I tell you that story where I met Gene Kiniski at the Reef? So the Reef Bar in Point Roberts, I don't know if they still own it, but they used to own the Reef. So we were playing there, and we're setting up in the afternoon our band, and Gene's at the bar, right? And Gene walks up, we walk up to Gene, and go, hey Gene, how are you, right? And he just kind of like figurehead, he kind of just ran, you know, he bartended, and his kid kind of ran the bar, right?
Kind of shakes everybody's hand, kind of.
Yeah, Gene was, and he was really nice. He said, hey guys, how are you? We get your beer, right? Yeah. So he gets some beer from my bass player friend, and he goes like this, he goes, there you go. I don't know if he meant to do that.
Like that.
No, but my buddy goes like this. He goes, got a glass? What do you mean you need a glass? Yeah, I need a glass, Gene.
Oh, that's wicked, man.
Yeah, you know, Gene, he just looked so rugged. He was just very rugged, right? You know. And I just said, my guitar player goes, look, that's Gene Kiniski behind the bar. I said, he owns the bar, idiot. He goes, wow, holy shit.
He's a legend, right?
It's also a wild thing, like, so many of us just grew up on wrestling.
Well, it used to be right here at the P&E, right?
Yeah.
My grandmother used to go all the time. She loved it.
Yeah, for sure.
She just got a bang out of it. She just says it was hilarious.
I took my 93-year-old grandmother 2 years before she passed away, or 1 year before she passed away. I took her to Pacific Coliseum.
Yeah.
And to see wrestling live, because all she wanted to see in the whole world was Rikishi do a stink face. Do you know what that move is?
Yeah.
When you throw a guy in a corner,
Gnarly,
and
yeah.
Rikishi was a big bottomed wrestler,
Yeah.
he just rub his butt right in the guy's face, and she thought that was the funniest thing in the world.
Pretty funny.
She had watched it for years, and then I surprised her with tickets, and we went, and she was just it was awesome.
She's in stitches.
She was in stitches, and it was just,
That's
it's just
so good.
It's just something that's simple and it's constant and it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
nostalgic.
yeah,
And it's I don't know how people don't love it.
I saw that Iron Sheik beat Harley Race for the title that night that I met Andre.
Andre.
Right?
I'll never forget. Oh, Haystack Calhoun, saw him fight.
Oh, Steve Calhoun.
Yeah, like wicked,
Oh,
man.
what's that honky tonk guy too?
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
But that was the moment. That was the moment when kayfabe was no longer real for me. Was when Iron Sheik and Hacksaw Jim Duggan, good guy and bad guy,
Oh, yeah,
caught in the car at the border with like I don't know coke or something,
Bunch of
right?
blow, yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
Did
yeah,
they? I didn't
and then
know that.
but that wasn't. But man, people didn't care
Yeah.
about the drugs. They were freaking out because why was Hacksaw?
They hate each
They
other.
hate each other. Why would they be in the same car?
Why would they be
actually
hanging
friends.
out? Yeah, because they're just fucking
And
drunk.
that was like I love that was the thing that brought it down.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, like for all these years, they everyone thought it was real. Hacksaw and Iron Sheik just tied one on.
Oh my god. Yeah, people don't get you know, that's the funny thing, you get all these storylines and stuff about the character, but half times most of these guys probably were out having beers and drinking together in parties.
Oh yeah, now we know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all did.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I mean, they all do. Like
Yeah,
in
sure.
general, even sports guys. I mean, like football guys, soccer guys do the same thing. They'd be on opposite sides of the teams, but they're still good friends.
Of course they are, because they're out there killing each other.
Yeah. So they.
Shared dream. They're working their asses off.
Yeah. It's. I mean, that's the way I would think it would go, right?
Yeah.
So you did that one, and like you said, you did it during COVID, right? I just want to get
Yeah,
back
so
to that.
so during COVID, and so that's sort of why and so that's where the research I did, Kimbo Slice, street
yeah.
fights, right? And so I found
All
this
that backyard stuff,
backyard stuff, the rooftop fight clubs, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is something I could get my fingertips into, and it would, even though it's a Fight Club book, which you're not supposed to talk about,
No.
it still felt like maybe this could be different enough. Because there's only, it's used strategically in the book too, right? Like there's a case and there's a missing championship belt, a UFC belt, commemorative belt that's been stolen. So I needed him to go in and around this world, but I needed an active Fight Club in the book, and I wanted it to be a little different, and I found that rooftop gimmick, and then I did. But the actual fighting of it itself, but that's actually one of the things I explore, and I think one of the coolest things about this book is this is the Hammerhead Jed. He's 6'4", he's 240 pounds, right? He's a big guy. He's so defined by his physicality. For the first time, he gets his ass kicked in this book, and so he has to figure out, well, if I'm not the big tough guy that I'm so used to being, who the heck am I? So he's got to go and rely on his mental toughness, because he's going up against guys that are actually more devastating, fighters than he is, and he's got to use this with his brawn for a certain first time.
Right.
And then his style, what he really comes away with in this book, is he realizes he can't try to be something he's not. So he's not going to come at you with like jiu-jitsu moves, because that's not who he is. He embraces the fact that like, I'm a grappler. I'm a ground and pound kind of guy, and that's how I'm going to take you down, and that's what he does. But that thing is that ground and pound style, which is so important to MMA, and I show great respect to MMA in it. I would rather watch guys jumping off the turnbuckle.
Well, yeah,
It's not real. That's just me.
100%.
But no disrespect to what those guys do.
For
no,
sure.
I mean,
For sure.
yeah. I mean, some of the brutality of it, of MMA, like watching it. I watch it on TV. I can't watch a lot of it because it's just a little too much sometimes.
It was.
You sit there and you go like, holy crap, the guy's like just kicking the shit out of the guy.
Yeah.
The guy's nose is broken, his face is over here, right?
Yeah, dude.
You know, and then the other guy's smiling. And I'm going like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
After a while, I don't need to see all that, right? You know, like it's too much. It's
Well,
like it
yeah.
takes
I
it
like
to a
the
limit where
fantasy of wrestling. It's really
For sure.
what it is.
well, the wrestling's more athletic and it's more not only it's, you know, the storyline's fun, but I mean it's athletic more. It's not, you know, it's not like just pounding on you, right? It's just straight up pounding, right? You know?
Well, I mean, you know, depending on, you know, who you talk to, doctors, athletes, you could make a case that wrestling could be one of the hardest things on your body with all the neck problems and whatever.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, NFL guys, right? They work their asses off. They train, but what, 12 games a season?
Yeah.
If you're a mid-card wrestler, you're 300 days a year on the road, like 4 house shows a week maybe, or 2 house shows a week and then
Dude,
TV shows.
we were down at the casino, me and one of our buddies, a wrestler, a boxer, who, you know him too, but he doesn't want to be mentioned in anything we do ever. Hey dude, you know who you are. Probably not even listening. And we're watching, sorry. And anyway, we're at wrestling. It was super fun. And this one wrestler comes up to him and he's like, dude, you got a good physique. You could be a wrestler. You could be a wrestler. And he's like, yeah, dude, could I? You think I could? And he's got a really good record.
Yeah.
I think he was 6-0 at the time or
Yeah.
something. And he's like, yeah, you think so? Could I? And he's like, yeah, dude, you could. You can do it, man. It's great. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I don't know. How much money you make? And dude's like, I made $100 tonight. And dude's like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah, right on, dude. And knuckles.
yeah.
Dude takes off, and they had a nice little thing. And then he looks to me, and he's like, I get 10 grand to show up at a boxing match where I'm not fighting.
That's great.
Right. All right.
Kind of says it
He
all.
loves wrestling, though. He grew up on wrestling.
Yeah.
Same as all of us. Like, I think anybody who doesn't like wrestling,
I mean,
suspect, dude.
To be honest, I don't get it. And the thing about wrestling, my favorite thing is the tone and the balance and the over the top, and then you know the sort of the crazy gritty stuff that goes on, and that balance, that yin and yang. That's what wrestling is, and that's what I try to do here.
Yeah.
For sure. But that's the darkest one, and for sure. And I needed the MMA for him to take the beating that he needed to go through, because that was the only place.
Oh, yeah.
After these 2 books, he was in such a good place. I'm like, I gotta make his life terrible.
Yeah.
And then I make it good again.
Rack up.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, roller derby must have been interesting too, though.
That was so much fun, that one, and that was the one where I built the world, because this was sort of, you know, this is just the debut. But here I'm introducing more of the office, his connections. This is his toughest. Well, not toughest. That's his toughest case, but this is he does his best investigative work, I think, in this one.
Oh, okay,
He
cool.
really has to do some detective work. Like your grandfather would have been proud of the work that he does in this book, because he really works the case.
Yeah.
These next 2 get a little more into an adventure, but this one's a pure PI story for sure.
Right
And the
on.
roller derby is amazing, and it's so much fun.
I know, roller derby's cool.
Oh, have you seen the movies? The old rollerball and the crazy old 70s
Well,
style
rollerball, I
movies?
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rollerball is really interesting. I used to roller skate as a kid, so like at Roarland here at PNE. But
Nice.
my aunt and my uncle, who passed away in the last 2-3 years, they used to be roller skating. They used to do the roller skating like the actual what do you call it? The contest stuff, like where they dance together to do the skating
On roller skates.
Oh yeah, they won a ton of awards.
Oh, wow. I didn't
Yeah,
know
they
that.
were really good. Like my aunt and uncle were like amazing roller skaters.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they won tons of awards and stuff, and that's how they met. They met skating together, right, as a team, and then they got married and had kids, and so yeah, my uncle Ronnie and Auntie Jean were great. They were really good. I've seen all the awards they won, so they kind of spurred us on to go roller skate a lot when we were kids. We loved it. It was fun to walk and roller skate, and then the roller derby things were just
Right.
hilariously funny.
Oh, they're crazy.
I mean, you know,
That was on right
that's-
after wrestling when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
I
remember
didn't-
roller derby was all right after.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that, and
Well,
everybody
you were
kept
younger.
telling me that.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
kept telling me like, oh, and so I had paired it, and I didn't even realize
Yes.
that so many people remember watching wrestling and roller derby together back to
yeah.
back.
Yeah.
I just did it because I forget how, but I was like, I always knew I wanted to take in different places, but roller derby, I zeroed in on it, and I knew it was the right idea for the sequel. And you know what it was? It was the names. It was the names of the roller derby players.
Yeah,
And you have there's a character in this one called Jabba the Slut, and I didn't make it up.
Yeah, those girls are pretty funny. I know a girl, Inga. Hi, Inga. Inga is, maybe I shouldn't say her last name's Inga Cadronell, but and she was in roller derby too. She'd probably love it. She's a big, she actually, I don't know what I should say about that script she wrote, but blah, 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 blah. Anyway, she's big.
Well, that's
LA
the
hot shot
that,
nowadays.
and that was the fun thing, was the nostalgia, because I anticipated the nostalgia for the wrestling. I didn't anticipate the nostalgia for.
Oh, roller derby's great.
Roller derby.
They got a team down there.
Oh yeah, I've been to their games. I didn't anticipate the
Those
nostalgia
girls
for
are
Kim.
hard nosed too. Right?
Yeah,
Man, those broads like just take hits like no tomorrow.
Oh
right?
yeah, dude.
Like they're not scared, right?
Well, do you know, like, there's blockers and there's like the jammer. and
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
Like, if you actually learn the sport,
It's like football. It's
Oh.
almost like football.
Yeah.
A lot. That's that how you line stuff up and make the move, right? It's just like football. The
But-
moves are really tight.
and
like that.
the track sport is legit and real. That's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
scripted.
Yeah.
But the names are very creative. It's actually a very close hybrid to pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Football is so fake.
Football.
No, it's really. I think it's real close to football and hockey because you've got to actually be
Yeah,
able to
you need the
motivate.
moves and
You got to make the moves. You got to be able to, and you got to be able to skate like that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like I used to skate, and when I used to go to Roland, even as a young person, like friggin' hell, when you had like men's only, like they had like the skate was just men.
yeah.
Like we'd be racing around the
Oh yeah,
corners and stuff.
for sure.
I wiped out 1,000 times on my own. Not nobody bumping me or getting into my way. You're going that fast on a set of wheels.
What's huge
It's
for us
really
when
tough,
we're
right? You gotta really have your focus and your balance there.
Guys only would be Maiden. They play Iron Maiden.
Yeah, of course they play Iron Man.
now they played Wipeout.
Do 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 do.
They played Wipeout. Dan, you know that song?
Yeah.
And you'd be going, dun, 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 dun. You'd be going, I don't know what I was trying to prove, right? You know, you're doing this and the young girls are all going, oh, look at them. You know,
Let's get a
you know, yeah, that's what it was. And it was just like, you know, but hey, and once again, there you go. That smell of popcorn and
Yeah,
stale smell
right.
of popcorn
All that stuff,
in
yeah.
the Orla rink and
All that ambiance, all those
yeah,
memories,
all the
those
ambiance,
triggers.
yeah, that all that
And
stuff.
probably a
Those
bunch of
songs.
this stuff, like our memories of this stuff, and just how important this stuff is too, is how old we were and just teeming with hormones.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Well, that's such a
Like
good
roller
point.
skating, there's girls there, man.
Hey, when I was roller skating there,
Wrestling.
I tell you, when I was roller skating, when I first
Pure
started roller
alcohol.
skating there, I was like maybe 10 or 11, and I met 3 girls there, and the 3 girls were 16 and 17.
Whoa.
So I was 10, they were 7, and I was, you know, I was that like a little hippie, you know, I had super long hair,
Of
and
course,
you know, because it's the late
Oh, yeah.
60s, early 70s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, you know, had super, you know, my parents let me grow my hair was long, you know, and I had the cool bell bottom jeans, and, you know, these weren't tight back then, they were super baggy, you know, and you know, you had the rock t-shirt on, you know, and so you go and you skate, you know, and the girls, those older girls out there looking at me like, hey, he's kind of cute, you know, kind of cool. So I would hang with them, and they had boyfriends, right?
Yeah.
So their boyfriends were like, you know, big guys, bigger than me, right? You know? So I became their friends too, right?
Yeah,
So you know, when I was skating around, you know, like I'd be skating with the sorry, I don't know if she'd ever still around, but there was it was Kathy and Bernadette Tate.
We know what you did,
Yeah,
Captain
and-
Bernadette.
And there was Kathy and Bernadette, and then there was Betty Miller. And
Oh, Betty.
Betty was tall, skinny girl with that 60s, 70s long brown
yeah.
hair, like really like down to her butt, right? You know, and the skinny jeans and the the really nice looking.
I like girls with long brown hair.
And you know what? And
skinny
you know what?
jeans.
These girls, yeah, you
Hi,
do.
Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie. Yeah. So we used to see, and so you'd go there and you roller skate, like we said, you do all that, like you the smell and all that, and you dance, you skate with the girls too. Like those girls were like, they would, I'd be skating with them. I felt like it was in heaven, right?
Yeah,
I'm skating with these 17, 16-year-old girls, right? And the boyfriends are laughing, like, because I'm young, right? They're just going like, let them have his fun, sort of thing, right? So you do all that. Then we do crazy things, like we'd go to the cafe down the street, There used to be this cafe right by on Renfrew and Hastings, and we'd go there and have some, you know, hamburger, fries, and whatever, right? You know, milkshake after skate, you know. And then we sit and one day I'm sitting there with the girls, and just me and all these girls. I was like 5 girls and me, and I'm like in heaven, sitting, hanging out with the girls, right? And all of a sudden the girls go, okay, eat and run. I'm like,
Oh
"Eat,
yeah,
run?
dine and dash.
What's that?
No
Like,
way.
And they all start running, and they go, Joe! I would run out the door, and the Chinese guys come out with I'm serious, with the little hat, little meat flavor, and goes, he's chasing us down the street. The girls are running.
Oh,
yeah,
my
and I just went, they're all laughing. Later, we're going to go back to the rink. I go to the guys, and to Kathy's boyfriend, says, hey, Barry, the I'm bitching, right? And he goes, hi. He says, that's what you get hanging out with the girls, right? They're going to do shit like that, man. Right?
Dine and dash all the time.
Dine and dash, right? Yeah.
Here's the
The pool was still there.
Here's the $1 million question. Did you ever put on those roller skates and play tube soccer?
You know, that would have been really cool.
Right?
That
And if not, can we?
You could have. But you would have hurt yourself twice as much.
Probably twice as much.
Twice as much, yeah. Because we actually played that evening in the snow. So
no
there'd
way.
be no snow, of course, of the thing. But you know what? It'd be all wet.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Because the snow would come in right through the hole of the tube, right? As you're going down thing. So, like, yeah.
Can I just say something? We're sitting here, we're talking about books, the city of Vancouver,
Yeah.
murder, mystery, roller derby, you know, kicked off
Yeah,
buildings.
yeah.
And I think the most dangerous thing we've hit upon tonight is tube soccer.
100%.
100%. Tube soccer.
Tube soccer.
Well, Joe's gonna.
Gonna have to create a
He's
league.
gonna up
We're gonna have to create a
Tube
league.
soccer league.
Yeah.
Tube
Roller tube soccer league.
Yeah.
Oh my God, can you imagine? How brutal that would be. You'd have to write a book on that
Yeah, I think so.
one. You got murdered or...
For people that find regular tube soccer too easy,
Where does
not
Jim
intense
go
enough.
next?
That's a good question. So
Do you know?
I do. I know exactly where he's going.
Where's he going?
He's well, he's on hiatus is where he's at. So what happened was it was always about the trilogy.
Right.
Then, like I said, unfinished
Yeah.
business became quadrology. So then I'm one book longer before I was putting. I always intended to put the character on hiatus. So he's on hiatus. I'm going hiatus. I'm writing these standalones, standalones. There's 4 more. There's 4 more ideas that I have. You know, if and when, whatever, we'll see. But the way it was done was these 4 were done in a row. I'm doing these other things, and when I start book 5, I want to do book 5 and then not write anything to book 8. So I want to be 2 quadrologies.
Or that's dope.
That's what I want to do. Like
Do a 2-in-1 sort of thing?
I'm talking like over like the next 20, 30
Sure,
years,
sure,
right?
sure.
Like this
Yeah,
is what I like to do.
yeah.
I'd love to come back to this character. I have 4 more stories, but this feels like these are the stories I need to tell. This is where I want him to be, and I'm good with him here for now. He's on a little happy place, but he's coming back.
You can stay.
He feels but he's coming back with possibly, hopefully 4 big ones. But in the meantime, we do some other stuff. But
Well, what are you going to do?
Will
in the
wrestling
meantime?
be involved?
you know what? That's a good question. I think because I love it so much, and because it's so
Or are you
it's
going to stay in
permeated
the
all the
murder? Are you
books.
going to stay in murder mystery?
Well, it has to say crime fiction. So it's,
Okay.
but it's not going to be. But no, I'm gonna do everything I can to keep wrestling out of it. That being said, I don't know. It might work. A little cameo might work its way in. But no, but it's not a detective novel either. That's the thing.
No.
I wouldn't. If I was gonna be writing, I don't think I could write another detective. To be honest, it's a caper. It's a crime caper. So
Sweet, yeah.
it's a comedic crime caper. It's basically my version. If this was my version of like Mickey Spillane in Vancouver with like wrestling and snakes and
Gotcha.
derby, then you know this caper is going to be like my versions of Ocean's 11, but like in Vancouver. But like I mean like the George Clooney.
But you're staying here.
Yeah, I'm not. I have no interest in writing.
So
any other
it'd
city
be
in
very
Vancouver.
interesting. Yeah, be interesting here, right? You could do like
Yeah, I want to do like a big heist, movie like those old ones, like The Sting or like The Italian Job, like those fun heist movies.
Yeah.
That energy that those
Yeah,
movies
yeah,
had,
yeah,
and just
yeah,
and like the thing about the Ocean's 11, my favorite part about that one, it's not even the big heist and the twist. Like that's cool, but the best part was spending time with all the different characters, watching them get round up, and then figuring out how they like Scott Conn and Casey Affleck, and they're always doing something else. They're always bickering at each other, and you're always trying to figure out like why are they balloons and how does this fit into the master plan? Whatever. That to me was just so much fun, and I thought that would be cool to do like a heist thing in Vancouver.
It would be very
make it
cool.
colorful.
I bet there has been some big heists in Vancouver.
Well, I mean, we might be
I'd be
talking
talking
because
to
we got the opium, biggest opium sting. That's a whole story right there. So yeah, well, I might have to pick your brain, but yes, I want
yeah,
to do some research.
I would give you the evidence on that.
I have an idea. Like I have the idea. I know the
There's
heist
lots there.
I want, but
Yeah.
I'm definitely in a very
Yeah.
receiving energy for like heist novels and heist stuff right now. Capers.
Yeah, caper. That's very
Yeah.
good. That's very
it's
good.
a fun. It just feels fun. And what I realized by writing these books, because they got more comedic, I
How
want to
about
go
that
off
thing?
and do something
To
more
go off
comedic.
topic just for a second. About
Yeah.
that cheese thing.
Cheese.
Did you hear about that one today?
No, I didn't hear anything.
So there's a place in London, England,
Uh-huh.
where there's a famous cheese company, like a store,
Oh,
and they have the oldest cheese in the world,
no way.
and it's like worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So Jamie Oliver, the cook,
Yeah.
he's asked for a reward for this cheese because a guy came into the store saying that he was a famous French chef,
No way.
and he stole all the fucking cheese.
Stole or conned it?
He stole it.
But he conned it?
He conned it.
He conned it. That's more impressive though.
Yeah, he conned it and he stole it. It's like a truckload.
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
there's cheese that's worth like hundreds of thousands, almost
Okay,
a
well,
million
now I'm
dollars.
Way to go, England.
Yeah. Now I'm writing 2 heist novels.
Yeah.
that one's getting its own.
Yeah, it's just on CNN last night.
That is wild.
Yeah, did you? And I went. Jamie Oliver comes on. He goes, yeah, I want to offer a reward for this because this stuff is like super great cheese to eat and cook with and stuff.
Yeah.
And he goes, and yeah, some guys just ripped the whole fucking thing off. And I just went, holy shit, that's really interesting, right? Who would do something like that? Yeah, it's a heist.
I'll give you this, man. Your intuition is on point because what you just picked, that story about the cheese, that's
Yeah.
exactly the style of heist I'm doing, just not
Yes,
with cheese.
yeah.
So imagine that, no cheese in
No
Vancouver.
cheese.
That's my next book.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's got to be some interesting stuff that you could play off here. Because Vancouver has an interesting history.
Well,
right?
and that's the thing when you start, you land on these ideas, right? Okay, we're gonna do wrestling, we're gonna roller derby, we're making sparks up, whatever. Oh, I need a place for the fight. Oh, and then I'm learning about the old jail building, or I'm talking to my neighbor who was on the VPD for 25 years. He's giving me tips, but he takes me on a walk along on the not a ride along, a walk along on the downtown east side, right?
Very
like
interesting.
that's been the best part about this. It's just been
No.
getting to know my city. Despite I've learned more about my city in some ways by writing these books than I did by living here my whole life.
Yeah, right.
And that's
Yeah.
so now it's like even though I'm putting the character on hiatus, I'm not putting the city on hiatus.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
do other things. And if I found out so much about this city that I love, that we love, through one detective, what could I do if I do like a big heist? I want to get into like the inner workings, see I really want to learn more about how
it is.
this
And
place
you've got
works.
one guy's from Shaughnessy and one guy's
Right?
from
Yeah, you got a lot of, and there's a lot of like,
no one from Surrey.
but you got a lot of,
I'm not laughing. I'm laughing at the authority of what's that was
yeah,
said.
you got a lot of famous people too. Like I mean, like we had one last week.
Gary,
Not-
well-
Gary Taylor we had here, and Gary Taylor used to run the Gary Taylor Show Lounge and stuff, and so he
Brought
ran.
Long John Baldry to
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
Okay.
He did a lot of nightclub stuff too. He became a manager for bands and stuff.
Nice.
And so he has a lot of history, right? So, I mean, he's in his 80s, and like, you know, Gary knew a lot of stuff that went on, right?
Yeah.
You know, in the club scene, right? And you know, like to be fair to Gary, like when we were talking to him, I said, you know, you know, he says people got a lot of comments on me, sort of thing, right? And they do, because yeah, he to make deals and do stuff,
Cutthroat business, man.
he's shady as fuck, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like, you know, to be honest, yeah, I know people that some of my family or good friends would go, you talk to him, why would you talk to him? He's so shady, blah, blah. You know what? This city is full of that because you had to.
Built on shade, man.
Yeah, you had to start somewhere.
Not to put too fine a point on it, but look at the three of us.
No, but it's you know, like there's a lot of characters with a lot of interesting scenarios, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes the best part about writing for me and writing these stories in Vancouver is that sometimes you land on your idea, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this caper thing, you're like, okay, well I've got this and you've got this and this, you're like, oh, I've got to research how this works in Vancouver. And then you start to learn things that you didn't anticipate. And then you discover something and then you're able to work it in. And if you really get lucky, use it as like a plot point, you know. So it's really like geography and different things. And then at all times when I'm writing, I'm trying to just grab in, and it could be the smallest of details, like that little igloo,
Yeah.
you know, I talked about, like that. And I didn't even see that. That was my neighbor who grew up by that park, describing that park to me, and then I had her read it. She's like, yeah, no, but it was an igloo. It's like, oh, it was like a concrete igloo. I was like, okay, I'll change it. And then apparently they took it out, but I'm so glad it stayed. Like when they took it out, sorry, not in the book, they took out the actual igloo from the park. after the book came out, but I think when I was writing it, it was there, and I'm so glad it's there. It seems like such a little detail, but it's just so emblematic in some ways of how the city is, and that's all.
Remember Boner Satan?
Boner Satan.
It was down on Clark.
Sounds familiar
There's
to
that
me.
little like pagoda kind of whatever that thing, whatever those things are called. It's just a like third, second, and Clark. There's this thing. Anyway, they built this big Satan and put it in there. This huge boner. It's
What?
super crazy.
I missed that, man. No,
It was up for one day. I saw it. It's awesome. People still talk. I'm talking about it today. But
It would take me about
of issues.
5 minutes to figure out how to work a boner Satan into my new novel. I guarantee it. I could do it like that.
Boners.
That's it. Forget
Boner
it.
Satan.
We just found the title. There you go. That's the new book. Boner Satan.
Like weird stuff going on, right?
There's a lot of weird stuff.
There's a lot of weird stuff, like you're saying. Like there's
Oh,
ton,
yeah.
there's tons of stories. I mean, I know a couple too that like for instance, like when we're talking about my grandpa in their 20s and
Right.
30s, like there are also the people that would used to own what they still do. I think the family still owns a penthouse. The penthouse downtown would be an interesting place.
Yeah, for sure.
Very lot of stuff went on at the penthouse.
Like this is straight up noir.
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
even noir.
Oh, yeah.
That was daylight. That,
Yeah.
it wasn't even noir. That.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I know. It's just it's
That's a great idea. Actually.
Yeah.
That's a great venue.
That's a great venue, or even like wild stuff. Like my parents one time were good. Like they owned the bars, like because of my grandpa, and then so like they had my stepdad who was a heavy gambler, for instance. So he used to be good friends with Drew Barnes, who used to own the Commodore, right?
Right.
So Drew was a heavy gambler.
Right.
And so Drew was over my house one time. You know, my dad used to have these card games, right? They go all
Oh yeah.
fucking night long.
Yeah, right.
Like into the mornings,
Yeah.
right? I mean, into the day afternoons.
Really?
Oh yeah, these guys are like
Wow.
guys that's all they do for a living. Not. There was a couple of guys that sat with my dad that were like, that's all they did. They never worked a day in their life. They were professional gamblers.
Grinders, yeah.
They just gambled.
Rounders.
And they made money.
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah,
guys were like this one guy. I don't know his last name, but I know his nickname was, and his name was Al. He was called Little Al, and the guy was only about this big. And he was the super nicest guy you ever met in your life. Like, you know, I mean, I loved the guy. He was great. He'd come over to my house, and you know, my stepdad hung around him because he wanted the luck to run off on him. And I asked Al. I says, Al, Al, do you work for a living? Have you ever had a job? He goes, because my mom says, no, Al's a professional gambler. And I says, what do you mean? You know, because I was a teenager, I didn't know what that
Well, yeah,
meant.
sure.
It's really, really, you know, what do you mean professional? That's all he does?
Yeah.
I go, Al, my mom tells me that's all you do. And he goes, yeah, I've done it since I've been a teenager. I've never had a job, Joey.
Yeah.
And he called me Joey, and I went like, holy shit.
Right.
You know, and then he'd win a bunch of money, you know. My stepdad would lose a bunch of money. And then and he'd look at Al like, what an asshole you are, right? But, you know, little Al would laugh at him and say, I'll buy you dinner. I'll buy you some drinks tonight. Let's relax, right? You know. And he'd walk up to me and he'd hand me like $50.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
and then my dad and stepdad would go, what are you doing giving him money freely like that? He's got to learn how to earn it. And Al goes, what are you talking about? You're gambling your money away, and it's none of your business what I do here. I'm giving the kids some money, right? And it's just like, wow, I you know, that's what he did his whole life.
Yeah.
What a story,
Yeah, yeah.
like you know. And so short story, really short. My stepdad was so shitty sometimes at gambling that he gave away the house,
Oh,
the deed to the house to Drew.
It's like out of a movie.
To Drew Barnes at Commodore. So my mom owned the nightclub down the street that my grandpa gave her, right? And my aunt, he came in the next morning to my mom and he handed her the deed back. And he goes, you know, I've known you and your family my whole life. He said, here's the deed back. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, dump the fucking asshole.
no shit.
Yeah.
Get rid of him.
Yeah.
You know, I love
Did she
both
do
of
it?
you. I like the both of you together.
Yeah.
But fuck this.
Yeah.
You know,
Did she do it?
no, my mom wasn't that smart, and you know, I mean, she's smart, but she had a bigger heart than she had this, right?
Yeah, okay.
So she went home though, and she never talked to my stepdad for like months.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not talking a month. I'm talking like
Yeah.
6 months later, maybe
Yeah.
she would give him the time of day.
Yeah.
And he just didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Because she said, I don't want to talk to you
Yeah.
for the longest of fucking times.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
You ever do that fucking again, I'm gonna get a lawyer.
That's
Right?
next
And
level,
you're
dude.
fucked.
Well, she was minding her business, and the deed shows up like that, like to know that he gambled it.
Yeah, like he gambled it away. Like he just went because he was so into it. Like
Yeah.
I could see how he was. He was
Yeah,
very, he was very. He would get totally lost in it, right?
Right. Oh yeah.
He'd be so addicted. It was like drugs.
Yeah.
It wasn't drugs for him. It was.
Right.
It was that was his hit, right?
Yeah. Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
100%.
So there's a story there too, like how these people sort of interact all together, and how these kind of weird shit goes on crime-wise, and
For sure.
because gambling wasn't legal to gamble like that.
Yeah, no, of course
You know, it wasn't legal, and people were doing it, right? My mom let them do it because I think she thought that was cool. Because
Yeah.
because my grandpa, like when you talk about my grandpa really quick, about that being a detective, one thing one of my mom's my godmother would say, was my mom's best friend. She said, your grandpa was a great guy, really, really powerful guy, but really violent.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, yeah, it's because of what he did for a living.
Yeah.
It was very violent, right?
Yeah.
So he drank a lot, like a lot,
Yeah.
and partying. He didn't do drugs, but
Yeah.
he drank a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because he probably had to think about all the shit he saw.
Oh, he was seeing all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, murders and
Yeah.
people dead,
Yeah.
and all kinds of heavy shit, right? Going
Yeah.
on, right? Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing too, right? Like this, every city's different, and the crime that happens within every city, some of it's universal, some of it's different.
Yeah.
And I think what I find is that people really enjoy this stuff. Like, oh, I've seen a Fight Club before, but I haven't seen it on a rooftop in Vancouver. Oh, I've seen roller derby before, but I've never seen it like in New Westminster, and then there's a fight in the parking lot, right?
So
like,
what was downtown like for you?
what do you mean, like when I go there, or like?
When you went with the cop and you went
down my ride along, my walk along on the downtown east side.
Oh, that must have been incredible.
It was pretty amazing, and
I mean, the shit that you must have saw.
yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, we were, it was, you're right in it. There's, but I mean, it's.
I mean, you're at ground level.
Yeah, but it's the way to do it, man, and it's, there's a lot of beauty there too, right? Like people always talk about like the homelessness and stuff, but like it's just, like it's iconic, it's visual, and then there's a lot of great people there, and there's a lot of character, and it's just there's so many stories. Everybody there has a story, like you just like you want to like I want to go around and
worked
do
out there
that.
for 20 years. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I can tell you. No, bear in mind, I am in between two very big cops while I'm soaking this in. So I'm coming from the artist perspective, sure. There's beauty everywhere. So I guess I have my American Beauty.
No, I mean I see what he's trying to say.
But yes, but what I'm trying to say is like
I feel bad. I feel bad.
I was trying to.
I have a
absorb
lot of empathy for what's happening down there.
Yes, sure.
That's the saddest thing I feel.
Was if I was working a shift and I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And for about a year or so, I was just in the alleys all night.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah, it was harsh tokes. But at dawn, the crows come in.
Wow.
It's wicked.
No, that is something I wish I saw.
Because you see
It's like a Batman movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what a visual for
Because
for
like I can sit on my back deck and watch them all. They're going to what's it called?
Down there, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Where they all hang out at
Not blind.
and in night.
Just in Burnaby.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
at my friend's house and they're going this way. I was like,
The creek place there.
Yeah.
Still
yeah.
Creek.
Still Creek. That's where they go.
That's where they perch.
Yeah, and they're all. So I'm used to them going that way, and we all are an East fan watching them all. There they go. And
But you saw that in the morning.
But yeah, in the morning, standing at Main and Hastings,
Wow.
watching them all come in and go.
Well, see, my mom's nightclub was right at my grandpa's first place was right at Main Hastings, 380 Main Street next door to the police station. Because my grandpa.
Yeah, of
I'll
course.
put the club there
Yeah.
in the 20s
Yeah.
and 30s. I'll get all the cops.
Yeah.
I'll get all the detectives. I'll get all the judges.
Yeah.
And that's what he got at first. He would
Yeah.
get all that. So by the time my mom was selling the place was starting to go like you guys see.
Yeah.
It was starting to go down.
Yeah.
And my mom and my aunt.
When would that have been? The 70s?
80s.
80s,
In 79, 80 when my mom left. I think my mom left in 80.
Yeah. Okay.
80, 81 they left. They sold the business because it was just getting so bad.
Yeah.
And my stepdad and my uncle told my mom and dad told my aunt and my mom said, you guys got to get out because you're going to get murdered
Yeah.
down there.
Okay.
And my mom would like have a baseball bat behind the bar.
Yeah.
like a little lady, like she gonna swing that. I mean,
Right,
yeah.
but she would if she had to.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And my aunt would have done the same thing. They
Yeah.
would have swung that thing if they had to.
yeah.
But you know, that's the yeah. Well, yeah
Just
that's-
saying.
Yeah, just saying.
Just saying, boys.
Right?
Boom!
I tell you, well, that's the thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
the visuals down there are something you will not see in any other city in North America. In this book, he's driving through the downtown east side because I like to drive through, walk through it as much as I can. The ride along, I use definitely one of the walk.
That's what I'm saying, that
You're gonna
was
see
great.
stuff. Actually, I thought I saw all kinds of stuff, and when I got home, I got a text message. He's like, "Oh, you left too early," and it was like 3 a.m. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, you just missed this big broken bottle fight in the back alley. There was shards of glass and knives and sides of the necks." I'm like, "Ah, I guess I did miss it." But what's crazy is that you will see a visual just driving downtown, and it will stay with you, and you're like, I've never seen that before. And there's stuff in here I don't make up, and people think that I do. I'm like, no, that's just my city. And the best, most concise example I can give you, I think it's Rolling Thunder, is it's like October, November, it's right this time of year. It's nippy, cold. He's driving
Yeah.
back to his pub. He's been hired for a job. He's driving back to his family pub in the office, tech office, second floor. And as he's driving, it's like dusk. It's cold, and there's this guy walking through the street, right by Pigeon Park, and he's pushing a lawnmower. And he's wrapped his shirt around his head, like a hat or a turban.
Yeah,
whatever, right? He's
like a
got that
turban,
big-
yeah.
And he's walking around shirtless, pushing a lawnmower. And I remember rolling down the window and like, oh man, it's freezing out. And then I was like, what the heck? I just started thinking, what is that guy doing?
Yeah.
Where is he going?
Would you
Where's the
think of that?
closest grass that he could actually cut?
Yeah.
Right? And then I realized I wanted to know so bad where he was going.
Yeah.
And then by the time I finished the book, I realized, what a gift that I don't know. And that's the kind of stuff, those little moments, I
Well,
cherry
I'll tell
pick
you-
those and
I'll
just
tell you
sprinkle
something funny
them
quick.
throughout my book.
Yeah, it's something funny about that too. I was once playing in this band. I had the drummer, who was Gordie Howe, the hockey player's nephew.
Whoa.
And so he was playing downtown at the I'm trying to think of the bar on Main Hastings where they had bands. Anyways, can't remember the name of the hotel, but off the top of my head. But it was a really dive.
With
Really
the
bad.
Balmoral.
Balmoral.
Nice.
Yeah, he was playing the Balmoral.
Gnarly.
Yeah, and so I played the Balmoral. I can tell you, pretty gnarly for sure. And so he's playing the Balmoral. So he does a set. They get off. He decides he's gonna go to the washroom. He goes to the washroom. Goes to the washroom, and he sees in the stall next to him. He sees a pair of pants full of shit.
Oh, no.
So he says, he thinks, "Sorry, folks, this is real."
Sees or smells?
No, he goes, so his thought was, where did that guy go? did anybody notice that guy walked out of there
true.
and had no pants on? Did not nobody know? And I just started laughing. I went, that is so true.
Right?
What happened to that guy? Like, is this normal for a year? It is. I said to him, you know what? This is normal. He goes, what do you mean it's normal? I says, anything goes.
Oh, yeah.
Just anything goes in here.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the kinds of things
Those are
that
the
people
sta-
want to read about
Yeah.
that makes Vancouver different. Because otherwise, it's just a mystery story told anywhere
Yeah.
or whatever. The city of Vancouver is what gives these characters
Sorry, folks, this
heart
is-
and soul.
this is
And
what you
stories
get.
like that, but stuff like that is exactly it. I'm on the lookout for stuff like that constantly.
I've seen way.
Yeah.
I know you.
Wait,
I know you.
no.
Well, we would play down there one time, and
True.
you know, we played down there. When we played the Balmoral one time with one band I was in, and then we went out to the back alley, and a couple guys sparked up a joint, smoking a joint, and I tell you, within 2 seconds, cops were on us. Cop cars came plowing into the alley. And they said, "What are you guys doing?" I put the joint out and says, "You know, I see what you done there." And the guys are going, "Oh fuck, we're gonna get busted for playing today."
Right.
It's over. Sorry, folks, this is true.
Yeah.
And anyways, at the end of it all, the cop was super nice. He goes, "I'm going to tell you guys playing here tonight? I think you're the band, right? We know that you guys look like the band that went in here tonight." And he says, "Yeah, we are the band." He goes, "Okay." He says, "I'm not going to screw it up for you, but I'm going to tell you something. Look over there on the roof." And we see there's a cop on the roof. He waves. "Look over there in that hotel room. There's a cop there." The cop waves.
Yeah.
He goes, "Look over on that rooftop." Cop waves. He goes, "I'm not trying to scare you guys, but we're here.
Oh, yeah.
We're observing this whole area.
Yeah.
We're watching it 24/7 for anything
Yeah.
that we need to put a stop on.
Yeah.
Right.
So he says, don't do that out here.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not going to ask you if you've got any stuff on you. I don't care.
Yeah.
You guys are not the problem
Right.
down here.
Right.
So just go back in. If you come out, have a smoke,
Yeah.
a cigarette, if you need to have a cigarette. I don't care about that.
Right.
But he says, you do not do what you're doing
Right.
and go back and play. And we went, no problem.
Yeah.
He says, when you guys come down here tomorrow night, you know, we're everywhere. Our eyes and ears are open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like, wow.
We've had the cops with the black flashes, the guns, numbers covered, come into my workplaces more than one time.
I bet,
on
eh?
the fucking ground.
Really?
Whoa. And we're like, hey, we work here, put your head up, I'll blow it off. Wow. Yeah, dude.
Oh,
That's
really?
crazy.
Yeah, that's strict, eh? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was an insight.
Well,
Wow.
because you're inside, yeah.
Anybody put your head up, we'll fucking blow it off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because then it gets kind of intense, doesn't it?
Well, it all got
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
That first year at Insight was
Very
really
intensive, right?
There's that's the climax of Five Moons of Doom takes place on top of the building next to Insight.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I specifically put that in there, and then I take a paragraph or a page to discuss it, and then also talk about how we're like the only city in North America that has this safe injection thing, or one of them, or whatever the thing.
Yeah, we are the one.
Whatever it was at the time was factually accurate. That was
Yeah,
2022. I did my research 2 years ago. I don't know if it is now, but that's what I'm saying. Like those little nuggets, those gold nuggets that make Vancouver what it is, and the kind of things that you can only learn about the city if you've spent time here.
Yeah.
That's what people want to hear.
Well, I like
That's
to
what
think
people
or
want
spent a lifetime.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's what I like though, like when you're talking about the guy with the lawnmower, right?
Right?
Like, what else?
Exactly.
What else would go on in a city like this? I bumped into somebody talking about that quickly too. I bumped into a lady the other day down at the gas station at Renfrew and Hastings. She was security for the PNE. And I thought, you know, I'm getting some gas and she's getting gas. I says, hey, how are you? She was fine. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna ask you some questions because, like, you know, I grew up around here. I says, so hey, I see you work for security at the PNE. She goes, yeah, I do. I says, interesting job? She goes, oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
She's midnight shift too, like graveyard,
Yeah.
And she was super nice.
Right.
And she goes, I said, so any homeless people and I said, I imagine must be it's an easy place to hide and find a place to
Down,
sleep.
Yeah.
down by the
Lake and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, in the woods.
Yeah.
Sure. And she goes, oh yeah, lots. I says, wow. I don't care what happens. I just want to know
I'm
that.
always surprised, like over where the pool used to be across the street from the PNE, that
Yes.
isn't just loaded, but it isn't.
It isn't. No, it's inside. It's in.
Yeah.
They go.
In-
I would
in the
imagine
forest
they're
or
inside
whatever.
the forest, or
Yeah.
they're somewhere around the corner of some kind of, you know,
By the fish pond and all that.
or the Agrodome maybe, or
Oh,
you know what I
yeah,
mean. It might be
yeah,
around a
yeah,
building or something where there's
Yeah.
not a lot of people notice them, you
Or
know,
hideouts.
or where they're around the racetrack, maybe around the side of it or something.
Or down by the paddocks, maybe.
Or
Yeah,
even
yeah.
maybe even in the, you know, the poor people are probably in the New Brighton Park, I would imagine. I know they got security there, but I would imagine just,
We
I know
went
there's
down there
people at the
yesterday. It was
underpass,
so beautiful down there yesterday. All
But
the
there's
trees
people-
changing. Oh
but
my
there's
God.
people at the underpass,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, where
Yeah.
they live in, which is wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's one guy's been there for years. He lives in the underpass. Now that'd be an interesting interview.
Yeah.
He lives underneath the bridge, in the underpass, between the cement pillars.
He lives there.
He
There's
lives
a guy
there,
on,
and he has a
where the
wagon.
highway comes over Broadway. There's a guy up there too.
Yeah, and that guy, I know what the one at New Brighton. I know he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
And he has that there. He has a little.
There was a guy we
Go-
talked to. He was living in Stanley Park for 20 years.
No way.
Way.
I've
And
heard
we
stuff
found
like
him.
that, but like,
We're like, dude, like we'll put you in. So, and he's like, where? An SRO downtown?
yeah,
Pass.
yeah. I'd rather be in the park.
Boy, he probably loves it in the
Yeah.
park.
Well,
Park's got everything he wants.
gnarly hard go, but
Yeah.
better than being. In
Well, it's
SRO.
probably yeah. I mean,
I've been in a lot of.
I mean,
them.
you know, like I said, the guy at the underpass here, you know, I mean, summer and spring he's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Winter he must be cold as hell.
Dude.
Yeah.
But he's probably got. You got to remember he's isolated by the cement mill.
True.
Yeah.
And he's in a like a cover of a place, so he's got to be.
Some.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, right?
But like that little detail about like knowing, like you know, knowing that there's a guy that lives under that.
That would be an interesting
But, like,
story.
That's something you can't
Take a little thing and throw that in,
Yes,
right?
and then it can turn into something where you can milk it, and then people like, oh, that's such
Or it
an
could not.
interesting thing. Or it could not. Sometimes it's
It could
window
be-
dressing.
Right, it could just be the igloo.
And that exactly, and
Yeah.
that's the thing is sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing. Is I'm just because that's the beauty too with first drafts. Throw it all in. You can never
Right.
have too much Vancouver. And then my editors help me at times. Is okay, are we writing a travel brochure? Are we writing a mystery novel? He's like, take the stylus back a bit.
Yeah.
But you know, like there's a scene where he goes on a date in this book, and he goes to Horizon's.
That was the thing Bonnie said that she really
Restaurant.
appreciated about number 3 was
Yeah.
just how deep down you dug on it.
Oh,
But
good,
me
man.
too.
That's just for a writer. That just means everything, and then especially for these books and what they mean to me and what they've become. Because this is
Very
like this is
cool.
how I have seen the city, and it's interesting because it's how I saw the city growing up. It's how I saw the city now. It's how I've seen the city after.
And this is so much like you must like you know to get get your own way of creating your own world, like you know like we do with music.
Yes.
So much better than actually getting into like I mean I'm not knocking anybody for going into the film industry and trying to do what you know scripts. I mean scripts are tough.
Well,
and,
yeah.
and it's a tough friggin' industry.
Well, I came from that. I was trained
That's
in
what I'm
that.
saying, yeah.
I trained and I came this, and this is the writing I prefer.
This is way better for you.
yeah, and
because
then-
you're more creative this way.
Absolutely.
You're not got
Yeah.
somebody handling, they got their finger on you going like, no, that's not going into the movie, or
Yeah.
that's not, I don't like that whole line.
No, I mean that's the beauty of and then that's the thing that like my professor used to say, and it probably was the reason I finally took the chance, wrote a crime novel. That one is he said, and I'll never forget this. This stayed with me, and it pretty much defined my career. He said a screenplay is a blueprint for a film that has yet to be put together.
Mhm.
Because a novel is a completed work. It
Yeah.
exists in and of its own. So
Right.
this can be a movie or a show.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But this is my complete 100% vision.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And
that's what I mean,
even if
yeah.
even if I had a show, which I would
It'd
be
be
involved
like
in
it's
because I
your
would
own
sell
song.
it. But
It's
even
like
then,
if I write a song,
it's
it's
a
like your own song.
collaborative process, and that's beautiful. And
Yeah.
then the idea takes on a different form, or like you do a cover of a song or something,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
it lives on, but the source, the original track.
Yeah.
Is this, and I had complete creative control of the OG original track for this, and that is, as an
So
artist,
cool.
as a creative artist, a storyteller, that for me is the greatest feeling of satisfaction.
Great,
Yeah.
really.
All right, you're our longest interview.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
No, I
No,
loved
it's
it.
super fun.
This is
a lot of
awesome.
fun,
Yeah.
right?
Well, we
Super
got
fun.
2 or 3 more books to go. We
Yeah,
got to do a series about your grandfather.
Okay, no
we got to
problem.
do tube socks, and then we got to do
Right.
tube soccer on Rose Gates.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Insight.
That is.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's gonna be a book.
Okay, before we go, favorite wrestler of all time.
Gotta go, Macho Man Randy Savage, just
Very
because
nice,
the
very
nice
nice.
balance of everything.
Gene Kiniski, I'm guessing.
No,
Oh,
I'm trying to think of that Hawaiian guy. My grandmother loved that Hawaiian guy back in those days, Gene Kiniski and all those guys. Trying to think of that Hawaiian.
Steamboat?
Oh,
Oh, before him.
yeah. How about Bulldog Brown? Remember that guy?
Sure.
Yeah, Bulldog Brown. Remember him?
I've heard, I can't.
Yeah,
I'm
he
blanking
was-
on. I've heard the name. I'm blanking
Yeah.
on Bulldog Brown, but I've heard the name.
I can't remember the Hawaiian guy, but the Hawaiian guy was like, somebody might out there know that the Hawaiian guy was a big, tall Hawaiian guy, and he was like huge.
It's not the Rock's grandfather. Big
No.
High Chief Peter Maivia.
No,
No.
might have been him though in another character, but
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the Hawaiian guy, but he was he played the good guy, right?
Yeah.
So my grandma.
No, Jimmy Snuka, Superfly.
No,
No, Jimmy Snuka.
No,
Sorry,
no.
that's okay.
Awesome.
this
He was
is
good.
around Gene Kiniski time.
Oh, I see. Okay.
All right, if you're not going to
Yeah.
ask, I'll tell you. Although it should be Andre the Giant, who I love.
Oh, Andre
Yeah,
Giant is
yeah.
up there, sure.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
It's Jesse the Body Ventura.
Oh, you know what? That's a great choice, man.
He's my
That is
favorite.
such a great
He's my
choice.
favorite.
You know what?
Yeah.
I like
That is a
I
great
like
choice.
Jake the
That's a
Snake.
great choice.
Oh, yeah, he's awesome.
I love
Oh,
Jake.
I love Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake's cool.
I don't
All right,
think he could pick
everybody.
the best wrestler.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace
Thanks,
out.
AJ.
Hey, thank
Thanks,
you.
Buy
Awesome.
these books.
Yeah, available now.
All right, that was wicked.